Hi and welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today we have a 2013, it's a Hyundai Sonata. We're going to be replacing the rear brake rotors, pads, and the hardware kit to hold the pads into the mounting bracket. It's not a hard job, but Hyundai screwed up on this one. They put the bolt to take the caliper mounting bracket off down behind the control arm. So you have to remove the control arm in order to get the bolt out to get the mounting bracket off. It's a pain in the rear end. Hyundai definitely screwed up with this one here for sure. I do something a little bit different. When you look at the procedure in the computer, it tells you to remove the brakes, of course, remove the screws that hold the rotor in place, remove the one mounting bolt up on top, and then remove the lower arm and pull it out of the way. And it tells you also to remove the lower shock absorber. You'll need to raise the suspension up when you lower this, when you take that bolt out of the shock absorber, because when you pull the bolt out, there's a spring on the lower control arm that actually will come out, and you could injure yourself. So you need to support the control arm. I don't do it that way. What I do is I can get in there. I can get in there with a pry bar, tap it out, knock the bolt out, and then I take the bolt over to the grinder over here, and I grind off the one side of the bolt so that it actually passes by without a problem. Saves you a little bit of time and not having to jack up the suspension and realign the lower part of the shock absorber. So, all right, let me show you what kind of tools we're going to need, and then we're going to get started on this one. We're going to have fun getting this one done. Okay, here's an example of what kind of tools you're going to need. You're going to need a very long pry bar, a hammer, of course, a couple of screwdrivers, a 12mm socket, and I think the other was a 14mm socket, some screwdrivers, an alignment bar to line the hole back up again, a drift like this to actually hold it a little bit, a driver to get the screws out of the rotor that actually hold the rotor to the hub. They're a little bit tight. A pry bar to push the brake pads back in and recess the piston, a 19mm and a 19mm socket for an air gun, so we can actually shoot those bolts off. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to come over here first, and we're going to take out this bolt here and this bolt here. We're going to use the driver to get those out. We are going to come over here and we're going to take out that bolt there and that bolt there. But before we do that, we're going to push that piston back in with the pry bar, and we're going to relocate that out of the way. Now the bolts that we need to remove, I'll show you. The one bolt you can see is right up here. That's probably a 12mm. The other bolt is back in there behind this upper arm right here. So we need to take out that bolt and drive that bolt out so we can pull this arm either up or down so we can get in there to get to that bolt. Stupid idea, but that's Hyundai for you. Alright, so alright, let's get started then. Okay, you know me with my rubber gloves, I always wear them. Okay, what we do is to get these bolts out right here, sometimes these bolts are a little bit tight, they're difficult to get out. If you just take a driver like this, put it on top of the bolt like that, and just tap it, most of the time you'll break them loose, and you can usually take them out. Now this is my driver that I use also, but you can take it out with a regular screwdriver. But if it didn't come out and you had a driver like this, you would just put it on there like this, and then you take it and tap it, and what that does is it pushes in and rotates the bolt, the screw out at the same time. Alright, so now that we have these out, we're just going to put these on the side for now. Now we're going to come underneath over here, and we're going to push that piston back in to the bore right there. We're just going to get in here with a screwdriver, and we're just going to grab a smaller one. We're just going to get in here on the brake pad itself, the inner brake pad, and we're just going to push it in just a little bit. And once you get it moving, then you can go back in with your pry bar, and we're just going to push that piston all the way back into the bore as far as it can go. The piston is pushed all the way back in, and now we're going to check these slide pins to make sure that they're okay. Good slide pins, the caliper should slide back and forth. This one is a little bit rusty, so I know it's good because it just moved a minute ago, but I'm just going to show you. See how it moves back and forth? So we know these slide pins are actually both okay. Next thing we'll do is we're going to take off the caliper. Now, the reason those slide pins weren't sliding is because the brake pads are rusted into the mounting bracket. That's why the car is here. All right. We're just going to take the caliper for now. We're just going to put this up over here for now. And the slide pins, you can see, they slide nice and freely, both of them. Okay? Now, the bolts that we're going to take out, let's get in there so you can see what's going on. Okay. Now, these are the bolts up here that we need to take out. Now, you know that this one here comes out fairly easy. You just get on here with the ratchet, and you can take it right out. But that one in there is a little bit of a pain, and you know what to get it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot that off now with an air gun. Like I said, that's a 19 millimeter. And then we have to hold the nut or the bolt on the other side. Okay. Now what we want to do is, you don't want to damage the threads on that bolt right there. So what you would do is you would bring it in and just tap it, put the nut back on it, and just tap it to get it moving. And now you know it slides nice and freely. A little tight, but it still slides and it's not rusted. And then what we do is you come in here with a punch, and you would tap out this bolt the rest of the way. Now when you're prying it out like that, you'll notice that it gets to a point where it's hitting into the strut. And what I do is I'll just go underneath here with a pry bar, just pry it just a little bit, just to get that little bit of space in there, and then tap it out the rest of the way. Now the bolt comes out. Now, the reason the bolt wouldn't come out is because you see the side right here? This side touches into the strut. Now, I was able to get it out of there, but this is now crooked, so you won't be able to get it back in. That's why we're going to take this over to the grinder, and we're going to grind off this one part of the bolt right here. We're not going to touch this part of the bolt. We're just going to grind off this portion here. But I'll do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Now we have that out, though. We can come in here with a pry bar, and you can pry it up or out, or any way that you want to, as long as you get it out of there. And then once it moves, some of them you don't have to take them out all the way, but this one you do. Alright, and after we have that out, we just get in here with a 12 millimeter socket, and we just get on it with a ratchet, like that, and we take that out. Now don't lose the bolts. And now we'll take this bracket off. We're going to put this to the side for now, and we'll come back to this shortly. All right, now we're going to take this rotor off, and you can just tap the rotor, and it usually pops right off once you take your screws out. Okay, I want to point this out to you. See this little piece right here, this little rubber thing? You're going to need to reuse that rubber piece on the new rotor, and you just get in the back like this. You push it, and it comes right out. And now we'll put this in the junk pile. Now the face of the hub right here, if there's a significant amount of rust, you'll need to clean it. But as you can see, this one is pretty clean. We don't have to do anything to it. All right, so now we're going to reinstall our rotor back on. We're going to push this little piece that we took off back through here, like that. And now we're going to line these up and put the screws back inside here. I will point this out to you. I did clean off the face of the rotor already, just so you know, with some brake cleaner. We're going to reinstall our screws here. I usually just tap it in just a little bit tighter. Right? Okay, next thing we're going to do now, we need to reinstall this, but we need to change the brake pads, obviously, because you can see they're rusted into the mounting bracket. They don't move. So we need to tap these out, just like that. Same thing here. Right? And then these two pieces here, we take this off. This is actually the caliper hardware. They get pretty rusty in here as well. So we are going to change these, the two of these. So I will, if you're working on it and you take these off and you see a significant amount of rust inside here, you're going to need to file that out of there just to get it out. This one is really not bad, so we don't have to do anything. And this is really not bad either, so we don't have to do anything here either. So let me grab the new clips and we'll put it back together. Okay, now we have our new clips. We just put a little bit of grease underneath where the clips are going to go, just like this. It'll keep it from rusting in the future a little bit. And then we take our new clips like this, and you just push them on, like that. And you push them in, and you make sure that they clip all the way in right here. The same thing on the other one here. You just take this, push it in, make sure your clip is in all the way. Like that. I'm just going to grab a screwdriver and push that down a little bit right there. Okay. I just pushed these pieces in right here, all the way in, right there, and right there to make sure they were in all the way. Now, every place that the brake pad is going to touch, you want to put a little bit of this synthetic brake grease, just like this. All right? Now, normally you'll see me put these brake pads in. I'm not going to do it in this case because I got to get in here with the hammer and I got to bang a little bit, and they're probably going to fall out. So for now, I'm just going to put this brake pad in, the inner, but you would actually put these two back in, just like that. Okay? But we are going to leave these out for now. We'll come back to these in a minute. We're going to get this mounting bracket back up on here where it belongs. And now we're going to catch both of the bolts in the back. Let's see. Now our mounting bracket is tight. All right, I'm going to go over to the bench now, and I'm going to grind that off, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that's what I do. I cut down the one side so it's actually, the shock absorber will go right past that now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line everything back up. I am going to put a little bit of grease on everything to make it slide a little bit easier. Because it is going to be a very snug fit through here. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put this back down in here, get in here with our pry bar, and we're going to pry it down. And then once you got it in there a little bit like that, I just get on the top, tap it down. So we can get in here with our tool. Just till we get our alignment tool lined up. Like that. Now that's pretty close. But as you're going to find out, it's still a pain in the rear end to get it in. So I usually just put a bolt through here just to make sure, and as you can see, it still doesn't line up properly. So I'm just going to tap it. Now we're not putting it in that way. We just put it in that way to make sure everything was lined up, and now we're going to take it back out. And now we'll take this bolt and we'll go into the back. Now we're going to get in there with a pry bar, and we're just going to tap the bolt through. It's a pain in the rear end. It is not easy. This is the hardest part of the whole job, actually. As you can see, it is a little bit of a tight squeeze through there. Okay. All right, let me show you what happened here. Let's see. Okay, and we got the bolt back through where it came out. And you can see the one side of it right over here. We have it shaved off a little bit so that we could pass by that shock. All right, now we're going to tighten it up with the air gun, and we're going to continue with this job. But now you didn't have to lower the strut, the shock absorber bolt out, and have to support your lower control arm. Now, I have gotten emails from people. Oh, you know what? We'll talk about that later. We're going to tighten that up. We'll hold it back with the wrench, and then we'll tighten it up. Now there is torque specs on that. If you need them, you let me know, and I can give them to you. But now this is tight, and now we can put our brake pads in, and we can get this job back together. All right? Brake pad just goes in like this. Slide it in. Same thing on this side here, like that. All right. Let's get you up here so you can see what I'm doing, maybe. There we go. All right. Now, these are the slide pins right here. You want to take these out, and you want to lubricate these to make sure that they slide nice and freely. We're going to take off all of the old grease that's on there, and then we just put a little bit of grease on it. You don't want to go crazy with it, just a little bit. Push it in. Same thing here. Take off the grease. Put a little bit back on there, just like that. Now when you put this back in, you see that little lip right there? That rubber boot has to pop up into that lip right there, so you'll watch it go. See? Now it's in all the way. All right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to put our caliper back on. But any place that the brake pad touches, you want to put a little bit of the synthetic brake grease. Every place that touches the brake pad, a little bit of grease just like that. And then we'll take this, put it over the top, slide it down, and that's it. Now, if you try to put this on and you can't get it over the top because your piston's not pushed back in, there is a tool that is made to push that piston back in. You know what? Let me show you. Lots of different kinds, but this is the one here that you would actually show you. What you would do, let me grab the brake pads, I'll show you. You would take a brake pad, put it in here like this. Take the other brake pad, put it in here like this. And then you would take this tool here, and it would go in here like this, and then you would turn it like that, and you would push the piston back in. But by using that pry bar before, we just saved having to do this step, so we didn't have to do that. All right? Okay, so now we're going to take this, put it over like this, push these slide pins in a little bit, catch our bolts here and here. You want to make sure both of these are caught in there before you tighten either one of them up. You have to make sure it's loose. All right? And then after you get it caught, you screw them in as tight as you can by hand. And now you can tighten it up with the ratchet. Don't overdo it. You don't want to snap it. And that's it. Now, if you're trying to tighten these, and this bolt is just rotating but not getting tighter, you get in here with a 17 or an 18 millimeter wrench, and you hold that slide pin, and they'll stop it from rotating. Okay? All right, so let's recap what we did here. Okay. What we did is we took the rotor and we put the rotor back on. We made sure that the hub was nice and clean underneath here. We put our two screws back in here and here. We reinstalled our plug here. We put our mounting bracket back on, both top and bottom. We tightened up the bolts underneath here. Okay. All right, we made sure our bolt here, that 12 millimeters tight there, as well as there, they're both tight. We reinstalled our upper arm. We put our bolt back through and we tightened it, and making sure to put your washer back on too, very important. Next thing we did was installed our caliper back on to the mounting bracket, and we tightened up this 14 millimeter and that 14 millimeter, and that's it, we're all done. Okay, as you can see, getting that one bolt out of that mounting bracket is a little bit of a pain in the rear end, but you can get in there and you can get it done. The main thing is you got to have that tool to line up that bolt, that centering tool. This tool here comes in very handy trying to center everything so you can get your bolt through. You put your bolt through the wrong direction. You put it through this way, make sure it's nice and lined up, and then you pull that bolt back out and you put it back in the way it's supposed to go in. Now, what I was telling you before is that I get a lot of emails from my subscribers saying, well, what's the big deal? If the bolt, just put the bolt in the other direction, it'll be a lot easier the next time you have to do it. You can do that. It's not going to interfere with anything. Do I do that? No. If it came out one way, it goes back in the exact same way it came out, especially when I know this is a factory brake job on here, was never done by anybody else before, so I know it came like that from the factory. So me, just being the way I am, I always put it back exactly as it came apart. But could you do it? I know people that have done it, and there's no issue with it. The bolt doesn't interfere. Whether it goes one way or it goes the other way, it makes really no difference whatsoever. All right, any other questions you have, or you want to talk to me about anything, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.